Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Money Mike, and today is a new Front 7 podcast as we will be going over the latest NFL news and previewing week number 7, along as talking about the NFC East showdown between the Giants and the Eagles. So, I've always done this show on Thursday mornings, and I've decided to move it to Fridays. So starting today with this show, the Front 7 will be every Friday on this channel. So make sure you subscribe for more other Front 7 podcasts and the latest news around the league. Now I'll get to the Giants and Eagles in a minute, but we gotta talk about some news around the league, because the biggest news item, the Ravens acquiring Yannick Ngakoue from the Minnesota Vikings for, let me pull this up here, because I was surprised by this myself. Per Adam Schefter, the Vikings and the Ravens finalizing a trade to send Yannick to Baltimore for a 2021 third and a 2022 conditional 5th round pick. Now, mind you, back in August when the Vikings acquired Yannick, they sent a 2021 2nd round pick and a conditional 5th round pick to the Jaguars. So they essentially get their picks back, from which they sent to Jacksonville in this trade. Huge deal. This is huge. Now, obviously, as a Ravens fan, that makes me excited. We've been needing pass rush. We needed to improve it. We needed to get better at that, and I think we finally did that. Now, I gotta look at this from an analyst's perspective, right? Because the Ravens now have a situation on their hands. Because in the offseason, and yeah, they just acquired him, but you always gotta look ahead, right? Because Yannick was on the franchise tag in Jacksonville. He was sent off to Minnesota. Now he's in Baltimore, which, according to Adam Schefter, was where he wanted to be traded to in the first place. Yannick, homegrown, grew up in Bowie, Maryland. I'm from Maryland. I don't think I'm even saying that city right. Bowie, Maryland is where he's from. He went to Maryland to play football. He was drafted by Jacksonville. He took a pit stop in Minnesota, but he finally landed where he wanted to be, back home in Baltimore as a Raven. Now, again, as I said, looking to the future, because Matt Judon is also on the franchise tag. And now the Ravens have to essentially figure out what to do with Judon, because I think if you're making this trade for Yannick, I think this means there's some long-term perspective here of extending Yannick and keeping him in Baltimore for years to come and letting Judon walk. Now, does Judon get traded? Maybe Judon gets traded by the end of the day. I don't know. But the cap issue is what I'm looking at, because the Ravens just gave Marlon Humphrey a $95 million contract. Huge money, top corner money. They gotta pay Ronnie Stanley. in which if you look at what Laramie Tunsil got from the Texans, you know, Ronnie Stanley is probably going to want the same or more. Then, of course, in about 3 years, you have Lamar's mega quarterback contract. So it's going to be interesting to see how Eric DeCosta moves the salary cap around and plays with it to fit everybody in long term. And for me, the biggest thing to me, and I want to show you this tweet here. There's this tweet from NFL Update. So the Ravens essentially. So now, mind you, remember the Ravens acquired Calais Campbell from Jacksonville earlier in the offseason back in March. So they're reuniting Yannick and Calais there on that defensive line. So here's what from NFL Update. Here's what the Ravens gave up to get Calais Campbell, Yannick, and Marcus Peters. Now, mind you, these are 3 Pro Bowlers that the Ravens, Marcus Peters got his extension last year. They redid Calais' contract to fit him in, lower his cap hit. Now, I don't know how, but Eric DeCosta is like already general manager of the year, like 2nd year in a row. Give it to him now. 3rd round for those players: Calais, Yannick, and Marcus Peters. 3rd round, 5th round, conditional 5th, and linebacker Kenny Young, who was a part of the deal for Marcus Peters. Absolutely insane. It's insane from a perspective of how does this keep happening? Secondly, where were these deals when Ozzie was the general manager, man? We could have won some more Super Bowls. Obviously, he took a lot of. Obviously, he probably negotiated his own deal, pay raises to stay in Baltimore, to be Ozzie's right-hand man, and to be the eventual successor to Ozzie in Baltimore. But it's absolutely insane to me where Eric has been able to pull off these deals and not give up much trade value. It's insane. As for the Vikings, this is interesting because they traded off Yannick. Now Daniel Hunter, their other pass rusher, is on IR. They just lost him due to surgery. So now they just lost their pass rusher. Both pass rushers in the same day. Is this a rebuild in Minnesota? They're saying that they're still going to be competing. I don't know how you're going to be competing if you're doing this before the trade deadline and you're sitting at 1-5. I don't know how. But to me, is maybe the Vikings have just said, screw it, we're going to commit to tanking, like the Dolphins did, and they're going to hope and pray the Jets win a few games and they can land Trevor Lawrence next year. Who knows? But again, it's two teams, 2 different stories. The only difference is they both wear purple as their home jerseys. The Ravens are in win now mode, trying to win now before Lamar has to get his big mega deal. The Vikings are going the other way and seem to be looking for a high draft pick in a potential rebuild. Speaking of rebuilds, we're going to talk about the Giants and Eagles in a little bit, but Dallas. We're going to start our NFC East discussion in Dallas, where there might be a rebuild going on in Dallas. Perhaps. Just stay with me on this. So as we know, Dak Prescott, he's out for the year. I wish him the best. You hate it. You hate to see an injury like that happen to him, to a player like Dak. You really do. Hopefully his recovery goes well, and he'll be back to playing full form in 2021. Now, Dallas now. So Dallas is in a unique situation where he's a free agent next year because of him being on the franchise tag. He turned down offers from Dallas because he wanted more money. I'm assuming. And again, I'm not in Jerry's shoes. I'm not. I'm glad I'm not the one making the decision on whether or not he's worth, X amount of money, because I said this on my preview show. I said this on my preview show, where I said Dak and the Cowboys' future are linked together. The future of the other are intertwined, right? Because you can't let this be a Kirk Cousins situation. We saw in Washington where he's tagged for 2 years and they let him go. And now you see Washington kinda doesn't have a situation, right? Because they don't have a quarterback. They just benched Dwayne Haskins. They're starting Kyle Allen. They're probably going to draft a quarterback next year. So we'll have to see how things go. The thing here is there's already chatter in the Dallas locker room that about the coaching staff. Former Pro Bowl cornerback Asante Samuel, he came out in April and basically criticized the hire of Mike Nolan. When Mike McCarthy was hired by the Cowboys, essentially he brought in Mike Nolan to be his defensive coordinator. So Asante Samuel, he said, hey, he was the worst defensive coordinator I played for. And when you look at the rankings of Mike Nolan's defense in Atlanta in his last couple years, it wasn't good. It was dead to last. And now you see that happening with Dallas, where their defense is terrible. The thing to me that's so interesting, and I was watching First Take, and Max Kellerman is on point, and I think everybody knows this by now, but Jerry Jones really needs to step aside. He needs to put his ego aside, because nobody was banging down the door of Mike McCarthy. I know Stephen A. said this, but Mike, nobody was banging on the door to hire him. Like, he set out the year, which I think was his personal decision. He set out 2019. Then he gets hired during the playoffs after they fired Jason Garrett, and it's kind of just a kind of a safe hire. It's not a good hire. It's not a bad hire. But the name recognition is there for Jerry Jones to say, hey, if we win, I get all the credit, right? Because that's what Jerry Jones does. I'm sorry, Dallas Cowboys fans. Jerry Jones' ego does not allow him to make the right coaching move. doesn't let him make the big move that is necessary to put the Dallas Cowboys over the top, okay? Jerry Jones has this ego where he hires these yes men. That's why they had Jason Garrett for so long. Mike McCarthy now. Wade Phillips before. Jerry Jones has this idea in his head where the owner takes all the credit for the Super Bowls. And the owner gets all the credit for the team. Not the head coach. And I feel like Jerry wants a yes man for a head coach that won't overshadow him and won't take away from him in terms of the spotlight. Jerry craves that spotlight. He wants to be in the spotlight. He wants all the success to be given to him. I mean, imagine, if you will, Robert Kraft fires Bill Belichick because nobody was giving Robert Kraft the attention or the credit for all those Super Bowls. Like, it's amazing to me that it's Jerry Jones that has yet to figure out that the Cowboys won't win until he steps down. And to me, that's how long it's going to take. He needs to turn it over to his son Steven, step away, hire a real general manager, and let them run the team, and you'll win some Super Bowls eventually. But again, that all depends on what they do with Dak in the offseason. Now, while we're talking about coaches, I think the NFL has a coaching problem because, again, as I was listening to First Take, and there's all this chatter, not just from First Take, but, people are saying, Baker Mayfield got benched. And I think, with the nature of the blowout, in that blowout loss to the Steelers, in the rib injury and everything, I think the coaches decided to pull Baker. I don't think it has nothing to do with him actually being benched, like permanently benched. He's supposed to be starting on Sunday against the Bengals. But it's not this big deal that we're supposed to be making of it. I think if the Browns were to try to blame Baker for, saying he's part of the problem or he is the problem, that would be a bad thing to do. I think too many times in this league nowadays, so many owners, front offices go, if we draft a quarterback, we'll be all right for the next 10, 15 years. Teams, they forget how important coaching is in the NFL and how coaching matters. Look at Ryan Tannehill. Look at him. He's got away from Adam Gase. He's in Tennessee. He is riding high. He signed a big $120 million contract in the offseason. And, he's performing week in, week out here. Titans are 5-0. They play the Steelers, who are also 5-0. Big game on Sunday that could determine the number one seed in the AFC. And which with the 7th seed now coming into play, and only the one seed gets a bye week. This game could be very, very crucial to that, to determining who gets that one seed. But look at Mahomes in Kansas City. Bears fans, you can wish all day, you can get a do-over taking Patrick Mahomes instead of Mitchell Trubisky. But does Mahomes win a ring in Chicago with Matt Nagy? I don't think so. does Lamar Jackson do what he did last year with any other team? I don't think so. What you see with Lamar in Baltimore, Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, is the result of good coaching. And in the case of Baltimore, they're coaching around Lamar's strengths. Obviously, that's in the run game, but he did still lead the league in passing touchdowns last year. So he was a dual threat. Obviously, it's not gotten off to the same start as last year, but they're still sitting at 5-1, with a big showdown on November 1st against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But the coaching, so much so, it seems to be a lost art nowadays. Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. I think both of them have already had multiple head coaches. Baker, obviously, he had Hugh Jackson, Freddie Kitchens. He's on his third head coach, and that's not his fault. That's just Cleveland being Cleveland and their dysfunctional organization who can't keep coaches long enough to build a system. Is it even worth it for Trevor Lawrence if Adam Gase is still the head coach in New York if the Jets get the first overall pick? Look at this. Think about this. Just look at Ryan Tannehill. Like I said, Ryan Tannehill, the perfect example. Sam Darnold has to be sitting there thinking, man, if I had just had a different head coach, I could actually be doing what Tannehill's doing. And I think I'm a little off. Okay. But if the Jets land the first overall pick and Adam Gase is still there, is it worth it taking Trevor Lawrence? Probably not, because he's probably going to ruin Trevor Lawrence. The NFL has lost the art of coaching, and it's sad because to me it's one of those things where so many times, so many teams are like, oh, it's plug and play, but they don't realize how much. But if they don't have the coaching, then that quarterback is going to be set up to fail. Just like Sam Darnold is right now with the Jets. Look at everybody. Look at everybody who's left Miami who was traded, like Kenyon Drake. Look at what he did against Dallas last Monday night. Now I want to show you a little stat here. How Adam Gase still is a head coach, I don't know. Look at where his offenses have ranked. It's absolutely crazy he's still a head coach. After this year, though, probably not. He probably won't get a coaching job ever again. But I feel like the NFL has definitely lost the art of coaching. I don't know if it's just the fact that maybe the NFL has lost the quality in terms of the coaching. There's not enough good coaches out there anymore. But man, these teams have got to realize. I've not even mentioned the fact that the offensive line is a key part to this. Also, Joe Burrow is getting banged up in Cincinnati. That reminds me of Andrew Luck, where Andrew Luck took a lot of hits because the front office there with Ryan Grigson neglected the offensive line. I believe he only had one first-round pick there as a general manager, which was center Ryan Kelly. Chris Ballard came in, focused on the offensive line. Andrew Luck had that big year in 2018, and then we lost him a year later because he was too banged up, too injured. So I just really wish teams would start to realize that you can't just plug and play quarterbacks. You got to be able to have the coaching staff that's going to work with them to get the best out of that player, and you got to have the offensive line in front of them. So, all this talk about Baker and Darnold, and I mean, maybe you move on from Darnold because you have a once-in-a-lifetime prospect in Trevor Lawrence sitting there in your lap. But if the Browns move on from Baker, that would be sad because I think, they're 4-1 or 4-2. 4-2, right in the middle of the playoff hunt. So I think getting rid of Baker would be the worst thing the Browns can do. And I think the Browns finally have their quarterback. I just think, to me, Baker's been kind of handcuffed, handcuffed in a way where he's gone through like 3 coaches and he's never been able to get a good rhythm with one system. So hopefully the Browns will make that decision to keep Baker and won't continue to recycle quarterbacks going forward. The other big news to talk about here before we get to week number 7 and my predictions and what happened in the Eagles-Giants game, Antonio Brown seems to be coming back. There's been some rumblings this week that Seattle Seahawks are the most interested in him. The Ravens are also in the hunt, but I think but after signing Des Bryant to their practice squad, I think that might just rule that out. There was that connection with Marquise Brown being his cousin. Lamar, Marquise, and Antonio all worked out together in the offseason. But I think right now, I think he lands in Seattle. I think it's kind of funny because Kansas City just got Le'Veon Bell, so it'd be funny if, like, the biggest irony of everything after Le'Veon and Antonio left Pittsburgh and the way they left and everything is that they end up facing each other in the Super Bowl. Bell on the Chiefs, Antonio Brown on the Seahawks, and the Steelers are at home watching the Super Bowl. That's a story that's going to be interesting to follow the rest of the year. But for right now, we're going to follow the NFC East battle because we had a winner last night and it came down to the wire. Carson Wentz led a comeback against the Giants to win the game late, and it seemed as if Daniel Jones and the Giants had a chance to try to win the game with a game-winning field goal, but a fumble gave the Eagles the win, and essentially the Giants almost won 2 in a row. They came into this game winning last week against Washington, and then Evan Ingram, he dropped the pass that would have sealed the deal and gave the Giants their 2nd consecutive win of the year, and I believe the division lead. But he dropped it, and the Eagles did win. It seems as if the Giants are hitting their stride with Joe Judge here. They're getting a little bit better by the week. The Eagles seem to be picking up steam. So we'll see how Dallas and Washington do this Sunday when they play against each other. But right now, the Eagles essentially because of the tie with the Bengals, have the lead in the NFC East. But, I mean, to me it's a tie, but we'll see. Eagles win here, and the rest of week number 7, let's go into my predictions here. Interesting slate of games this week, as we have 2 undefeated teams, the Titans and the Steelers, facing off. Both of them are 5-0. This game right here, now I said maybe the Ravens, Chiefs could determine the number 1 seed. I think right now we're looking at 5-0 versus 5-0. Titans, Steelers, this game, who's the number 1 seed in the AFC. But we'll talk more about that in a minute here. I just want to say, and I don't know what you did in a past life, but I mean, the Braves, the Falcons, I mean, I'm just really sorry. But perhaps Atlanta can get their 2nd win in a row, as they're coming off a huge win over the Vikings, and this week they host the Detroit Lions, which Matt Patricia is also on the hot seat in Detroit. Will Atlanta, who just fired Dan Quinn, get Matt Patricia fired if the Lions cannot beat the Atlanta Falcons? I'm going to go Atlanta Falcons here. Perhaps Matt Patricia's fired. Who knows? It does seem as if the next head coach fired is like down to like 3 coaches between Matt Patricia and Detroit, Doug Marrone in Jacksonville, and Adam Gase in New York. So perhaps Matt Patricia might be the next domino to fall in the coaching carousel. Now, I talked about this earlier, coaching carousel. Cleveland Browns, I think they have their guy. I think they beat the Browns. They go to 5-2. They stay in the playoff hunt. Steelers Titans, big game. Let me just say this. I think it absolutely sucks that Devin Bush tore his ACL. I wish him the best of luck in his recovery. I always want the Steelers at full health when the Ravens and Steelers play. So hopefully he'll recover quickly and be at full strength for when the Ravens and Steelers play next year. But I do think this is going to hurt the Steelers because they're playing Derrick Henry. They have to stop the run. And I think Devin Bush tearing his ACL just before this game was the worst thing that could happen. I'm picking Tennessee to put the number 1 seed on lockdown through 7 weeks. Panthers Saints. The Saints will be without Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. I was going to pick the Saints, but without Michael Thomas, without Emmanuel Sanders, I'm changing my pick to the Panthers here. Panthers win this one. They go 4-3. Bills, Jets here. You know, it's amazing what Buffalo has done since they've hired Sean McDermott from Carolina. Maybe Carolina should have kept him and maybe promoted him. But Bills get an easy bounce back here. They lost to the Chiefs. They bounce back against the Jets. It's just a matter of, does Adam Gase survive another week? Dallas versus Washington. I'm going Dallas here. Dallas will get the win over Washington as Ron Rivera continues to do whatever he's doing with Kyle Allen. And hopefully Alex Smith gets a fair chance to be a starter in 2021. Packers, Texans. I'm taking the Packers here. This game here, I mean, obviously, the records are not what we thought they would be heading into this game, but I am picking the Packers here. The quarterback duel between Rodgers and Watson should make this game fun to watch. Now, because of COVID, the Raiders' offensive line all testing or being in COVID on the COVID list. The NFL basically, to ensure a Sunday night game, removed the Bucks and Raiders, which was scheduled to be on Sunday night, to the 4 o'clock slot. And that doesn't change my pick. I'm taking Tampa Bay here over the Raiders. Hopefully, I mean, look, the Lightning, Tampa Bay Lightning already won the Stanley Cup. The Rays are in the World Series. What is it about Tom Brady that brings winning teams to winning sports teams to their cities? It's crazy. Chiefs, Broncos. I'm going Kansas City here. They're going to keep up with the Titans. 49ers, Patriots. Now, if Tom Brady had stayed a Patriot, we could have gotten Jimmy Garoppolo versus Tom Brady. The 49ers seem to kind of be in a Super Bowl hangover. I'm picking the Patriots to rebound here. You can never count out a Bill Belichick coach team, and I think that's going to be the case on Sunday. Patriots get the best of the Niners. Jaguars, Chargers. I'm going Chargers here. Justin Herbert is coming around. He's getting better by the week. I think, unfortunately, my prediction of Minshew Mania running wild in the NFL is now dead. Jacksonville is now clearly in the hunt for a quarterback at 1-5 in the draft next year. Justin Herbert. It sucks the way this happened with Tyrod Taylor and whatever happened with that doctor who should be sued, lose his license for what he did to Tyrod, but it's been a blessing for the Chargers, and again, I hope Tyrod gets better and heals up, but Justin Herbert's taking full advantage. I think Herbert will lead the Chargers to a win here in over Jacksonville. The Sunday night game, the new Sunday night game, I should say. Seahawks, Cardinals. I'm going to go Seattle here to continue their streak. Russell Wilson is on an MVP-like run. I think they're going to go 6-0 here. Jamal Adams being out, I'd probably sign Christian Kirk. If Christian Kirk is available in your fantasy league, I would probably pick him up. Look at what he did against Dallas on Monday. 80-yard touchdown run, or pass. So Seattle, though, I think this will be a nail biter. I think Seattle will win in the end. And I mean, Seattle, Sunday Night Football, this will probably come down to the last play. Monday night, Bears and Rams. Nick Foles leading the Bears to LA. And I'm going to stay with Big Nick on this one. Big Nick. He's once again come in, is playing extremely well for a team. Taking over for a starter. Obviously, Carson Wentz got injured. He led the Eagles to the Super Bowl, even caught a pass in the Super Bowl. And he's doing very similar things in Chicago, which will probably make Eagles fans pull their hair out. But I'm taking the Bears to win Monday night. Nick Foles and the Bears, man. I'm telling you, they keep this up, man. The Bears and Packers, they play Week 17. that could determine who wins the NFC North. But those are my picks for Week 7. I will see you all next week, next Friday. Again, just a reminder, next Friday, the show, as of today, the show moves to every Friday on this channel. So subscribe for the latest NFL news on and the Front 7 podcast. And if a head coach gets fired Monday, Sunday night, I'll do a breaking news video and giving my thoughts on that, whether it's Adam Gase, Matt Patricia, Doug Marrone, whoever. I will bring you the breaking news when it happens. I've been your host, Money Mike, and I'll see y'all next Friday as we look ahead to the halfway point of the 2020 NFL season.